Hey guys, Luke here, and in this video we're going to talk about doing a strapless board off. So how you can do a jump, strapless board, get the board into your hand, you sort of be flying through the air and then land back on the board. So this video is a great move to learn because it's a good foundation move for a lot of your other strapless tricks. This jump and the technique of landing, you'll be able to translate into a lot of your other tricks as you progress in your strapless. But also, you know, what we're going to do is we're really going to focus on breaking it down into the launch. So how you get up into the air, how you get the board into your hand, then what you do when you're flying through the air, and then how you can land. Two different techniques actually for how you can land. So we're down here again in Cape Verde, and you can see a beautiful day today. Tropical paradise behind me. We're in front of the Robinson Club. This is where we've been staying. These guys have been looking after us, and it's a beautiful hotel. We've got the kite school right here. So if you're looking for a place to come and learn to kite, you can learn right out the front here. They have free equipment rentals for their guests, and you can also head across to Kite Beach, Ponte Preta. Really cool kite destination to come and check out, and a great resort for the rest of your family to hang out or, you know, have a good time as well with a lot of activities. So definitely check them out if you're going to come to Cape Verde. Okay, so let's get into it. Step number one, our takeoff. So the overall picture is that we're going to be riding along across the wind. The wind's at my back right now. We're riding along. We're going to jump up into the air. We're going to grab the board. Then with our front hand, we're going to fly through the air, and then we're going to put it back under our feet and land and ride away. Okay, so that's basically the process. So to break it down into the 3 steps, we're going to start with how do we take off. It's easier to learn on your comfortable riding stance. So for me, that's left foot forward. I'm a regular foot rider, and so I'll be heading this way with the wind at my back. As we approach, it's similar to doing any jump, but maybe this is your very first jump, so let me go through it. You're standing on the board. As you approach your launch, what you need to do is take your foot to the back of the tail, okay? This is going to allow you to pop a lot easier. It's going to allow you to sort of move your weight to the back so you can sort of come up, okay? So it's the same as a normal jump where we're going to be riding along. We've got both hands on the bar. We're going to, the kite will be pulling us in a forward direction. We start to move the kite closer to 12 o'clock ready to jump, but not past 12 o'clock, never past 12 o'clock for this maneuver at the moment anyway, until the end. So we bring the kite sort of still slightly in the forward direction. Close to 12 o'clock, we're going to spot a little chop to take off. So we can see a little ramp. That's going to make it a lot easier to get the board in your hand. So while you're learning, then you're going to load up, and then we're going to pop up. And at the same time, we can sort of pull on the bar a little bit. Now, if you watched our other video for just doing a strapless straight air with no grab, it's a similar concept where what we have to do is we're riding along and we have to pop and let the board catch the wind, and it will drive up into our hand. Okay, so the number one tip I think for people that are learning the strapless board off is that you have to have patience. So don't try and reach down and grab the board. Let your leg come up, bring your knee up like this, okay, and reach down and grab the board when it's closer to you. Let the wind push it up into your hand. That's going to make the grab a lot easier. It's going to make the rest of the trick a lot easier because you don't sort of throw your body weight off as you reach down for the grab. So now, going along, spot the chop. Start to bring the kite up to 12 o'clock, okay, but not past 12. We load on our back foot, we sort of pop off our chop. Give it a moment, have patience, knee comes up, board comes into our hand, and we've got our back hand on the bar at this point. So now, we're in the air. The place that we want to grab the board is sort of similar to where I'm holding it here, closer to the center. You don't want to grab the board here because then when you're flying through the air, it's going to be very unstable and hard to land. So the further back, the more stability you're going to have with the board and how you can position it ready for landing. So now we're in the air, we've got our back hand on the bar, and what I really need to focus on when I was learning this was locking my wrist. Okay, so you're sort of trying to drive the kite forward a little bit with your wrist because it's on your back hand. So the last thing you want to do is sort of pull in and drive the kite over into the ground, because what will happen is if you send it way too far back past 12, you'll just drop out of the sky like this. Okay, so you've got to sort of go up. Now we've sort of locked our wrist and we're sort of driving it slightly in that forward direction, but it's closer to 12, and pulling on the bar but not pulling the kite back. So locking that wrist and driving forward. Pull on the bar, and now we're going up. Okay, so now we're flying through the sky. holding on to the board. This is why it's called a board off, because we've got our legs free of the board, okay? So you can do whatever you want. You can pretend to walk or straighten your legs. People do all sorts of little style things when they're flying like that. And that's the main takeaway here for the flying, is just locking that wrist and making sure you don't send the kite too far back. So now let's talk about the landing. You're coming in for your landing, and one thing to remember is that, like with any of our jumps, we're going to take off, okay? And we get the board in our hand, and then as we're flying, we start to move downwind like this, and we land going downwind. So the board, you have to anticipate that. So the board's gonna come up, we're gonna get it in our hand, and then we're going to land facing downwind like this, okay? So anticipate that for your landing, that you might need to turn your hips and really focus on, okay, I'm going to be landing in the downwind facing direction. And what we're going to do with the board is try and place it back under our feet like this, in the same direction that we were going before. So what I mean by that is, I took off on my heels. So you take off on your heels like this, we go up, we get it into our hand, and then we're going to, from behind us like this, we're going to go back on our heels facing downwind, okay? And we've got our backhand on the bar. So now there's two things you can do with your kite at this point. To get started, if you're just doing little jumps, because we're locking our wrist and we're driving that kite forward a little bit, you can sort of try and drive it forward even harder as you're coming down, and just then as you land, you sort of want to push it forward. So get the kite like a normal jump where it comes up to 12 and then it sort of drives forward again. Okay, so you're doing that all with your back hand. So it takes a little bit of force with your wrist. So we go up, we're hanging, we've locked our wrist so the kite's not past 12, we're coming down, and then we sort of drive it forward with our wrist. Okay, so that's one way to do it. The next way to do it is something that you probably want. It's a great technique to actually master, because you can use this technique, which is a backwards loop, landing loop, for a lot of other tricks. So you grab front rolls, you grab back rolls, your rodeos, your bigger, tall, like higher board-offs, even doing tic-tacs and things. You'll see a lot of the time you can use this motion in order to land tricks really smoothly. And so what we're doing with a landing loop is, as we've sort of come up and we're flying through the sky, we're still trying to hold the kite at about 12, but as we're sort of moving, we start to move slightly past the kite, okay? And so instead of driving it forward with our wrist, we sort of continue to allow it to come back, and then we loop it around. So the kite motion is, we're coming along, we bring it up to sort of close to 12, we jump, now we're like this, the kite goes slightly past 12, and then we loop it around and under. Now what that does is, does a couple of things. When you jump really high, what it will do is it will stop you sort of just crashing into the water, okay? Because even trying to drive forward is quite difficult in that circumstance. So as you start to loop it, the kite does a couple of things. It gives you a little bit of lift, okay? And so it sort of softens that landing, and it gives you a little bit of forward motion. So what happens is, the kite will start to come over, you'll start be falling, and you give it that little loop, and you'll sort of go and land it really smoothly. And you'll see that in some videos, like guys sending it really, really high, but landing really, really smoothly. And a lot of that is that kite positioning with that landing loop. And so the way I do it is that when you're coming down, I like to pull the loop from about, my feet are about this high off the water, okay? So you've been flying along, you don't do it at the very top, okay? If you go up and then crank the loop, then you're gonna go for a big loop. So this landing loop is really on the downward motion. You're just about to hit the water, and then bring the kite around. Don't wait to land on the board and then loop it though, okay? So you're not doing that. You're anticipating that you're coming down, and then you loop it, and it's that smooth motion. And what I did when I was learning was, I would sort of be coming down, and then I'd crank it, and I'd just sort of land on it and like aggressively take off. But as you get your timing right, now what I like to do is, because I've got that timing, sort of that muscle memory, it sort of you're sort of coming down, it sort of gives you that smooth acceleration, and then you land really smoothly. So it's something that takes a little bit of practice, but definitely worth practicing. And probably try it on a day that you're not, it's not super windy, okay? Like a nice comfortable riding day on your medium sort of sized kites that you like, and you're out there and it's comfortable. You don't want to be cranking this in 35 knots of wind, okay? So for the first time, anyway. So you want to just go out there and practice that loop. Like I said, you're coming down at this point, you've sort of gone past, the kite's slowly gone past 12. bring it around before you hit the water and anticipate that pull, because it's going to sort of pull you forward and you need to anticipate that that's going to happen, otherwise you sort of go over the front. And what I like to do is you sort of almost like force the board in front of you, like so. As you anticipate that pull, you start pulling that loop, you sort of put it down and you sort of lean so you know that it's going to pull you, right? So you sort of lean back and pulls you forward and you've still got control over your landing. So they're the tips. They are the steps for a successful strapless board off. We do a quick recap. So we start at the start. We're going along. Spot your chop. Okay. Move your foot back. Ready to launch. Spot your chop. Kite comes back up slightly with your backhand, almost to 12, but still maybe even an hour off, like sort of high, but not back. Bar comes in, front leg comes up. Okay, let the board come to your hand, pull in a little bit, grab the board, sort of in the center. Now you're flying. Anticipate that you're going to start making this curve, so you're flying, driving forward with your wrist a little bit, keeping it going, right? And as you get higher, you can really actually fly the kite kind of with your wrist. You're coming down, either drive it forward or commit to bringing the back loop. You're about this high off the water, start to loop it around, anticipate that, put it down, and then boom, ride out. And you're going to ride out downwind, and then you can carve back upwind. That's it. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Luke here. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, make sure you drop them in the box below, and we will try and make those videos for you as well. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.